Well, I think sleep actually is pretty good for your memory because it gives your brain more time to process information. You just ride.
Oh,
Josh, do you come from home, or do you have a first or second period? This is your first class? You time it really close. No, you're here. You're here. I was just always impressed that you're like here, and then the bell rings within 30 seconds. And I thought this was your first class of the day. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. I know you're still getting into the swing of things after being away for spring break. We're going to dig into or begin the circulatory system today. Like I typically like to do at the beginning of the unit, I like to take that of that 10,000 foot view of the subject matter. And we start with the POGIL. The POGIL's intent, if you remember, is to help you have some basic, to create some basic knowledge and understanding. Then I can use that as a scaffolding to help you learn more of the details, the minutiae of the chapter later on. So in this unit, we will do blood, we will do the heart and the rest of the circulatory system. We'll do the vessels. And unlike many of the units, all of those will be on one exam, right? A lot of times I'm doing a chapter and then a test, a chapter and a test. I've combined a few. This will be one where there's a combination of three, well, part of the third chapter and all of the first two chapters will be all combined into one exam, okay? So today, if you look at the board, you'll see what we're doing. It's a circulatory system introductory POGIL. Our guiding question is, how are materials moved by the circulatory system? By the end of our lesson, you should be able to determine what happens to the amount of oxygen in the blood traveling through the heart as the blood leaves the right side of the heart and then returns to the left side of the heart. And our second objective, you should be able to explain why and how the oxygen amount changes from the right side of the heart to the left side of the heart. And finally, you should be able to understand how the valves in the heart control the one-way flow of blood. Those are like the big picture ideas. Let me get you a copy of the POGIL. Does anybody remember what the acronym POGIL actually stands for? You've done these now for, well, a lot of this class and some of my bio class. Can you remember any of the letters? The P is process. It's process oriented, guided. What's the I? Inquiry. To inquire, right, is to ask questions. Process oriented, guided inquiry learning. And I use these in place of some of my lectures because I value you having conversations about the subject matter, not just listening to me talk about it. And this gets you kind of thinking and talking and learning some basic information, and I can use that to help connect some of the details later too. The first thing I need you to do is put your name, the date and the period on it, and then take a moment to divvy up the jobs. We need a reader, a recorder, a reporter, and a manager. And some of you may have to do more than one job if your group is small. Yeah, today is the 25th. Once you have a manager, have them grab the cup, and remember to use that to let me know when you're at a stop sign. So right now, put your cups on green, so that tells me you're going to be working. Don't begin yet, I want to start together. Just get organized.
So you're the reporter?
Who's going to be the manager here? Here you go. And then who's the manager back here? You're the manager? There you go. All right, I'd like to get us kind of going together, and then you'll be able to work independently from there. Let's look at the why, right? So the title of the POGIL is the circulatory system. How are materials moved by the circulatory system? Blood is a living liquid tissue made up of many components. The heart is the pump that forces the blood throughout the body, delivering nutrients and oxygen to all parts of the body. If a drop of blood were traced through the body, it would travel through both the left and right side of the heart on one complete journey through the body. Model 1 is titled Oxygen Content in the Blood During Circulation, so that will be your focus for Model 1. You'll notice there's not many questions, only 5 before we get to our first stop sign so we can talk. Model 2 is called Circulation of Blood. That's a little longer. Pay close attention to the boxes that are labeled read this. There's often some important information there that you should try to harvest. And then there are some extension questions. So this is a shorter POGIL. You will only need, material-wise, you'll need some colored pencils, or if you have pens, that works too, but you'll need, well, I'll let you follow directions, but you'll need a red colored pencil and a blue colored pencil. You can look in your box, you have some from another activity, but I also will get colored pencils out when you get started. They'll be up front, you can come grab those if you wish. Okay. I also have a new electric pencil sharpener, random news, but it's over there by the sink. So you're welcome to try. I think that works better on the colored pencils than the manual one, which they always tend to break when you're doing that one. All right, go ahead and get started. Let me know what your cup when you're done with number 5.
I'm assuming the hard.
What structure does the heart affect? The heart? Okay, what do the arrows on the right side? The flow of the blood is like? Does the percentage oxygen stay constant throughout the circulation of the blood? Between leaving the right side of the heart and arriving back to the left side of the heart, what has happened to the amount of oxygen in the blood?
Is the oxygen
Increase.
Yes.
Between leaving
Yes,
the
ma'am.
between leaving the left side of the heart and arriving back at the right side of the heart, what has happened?
The first time you said it.
And throughout, it goes from 95 on the left side, right? The body on the right. But then it's like the same in and out, so I don't know.
It's like, maybe it's like the circulation.
Yeah.
You can undo it, redo it.
The body is used for the oxygen.
I'm gonna put yes, because it's the same like going out. As it was going in.
So yes.
I have so much seed on one. I'm supposed to get like a. Oh wait, maybe not because it says between leaving the right side of the heart and arriving back on the left side of the heart. What has happened to the amount of oxygen?
Have you seen the difference in
So in essence, actually the last one.
The oxygen is replenished.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Leaving the right side.
Yes.
Leaving the right side.
The amount of oxygen.
Yeah, it should be flipped around.
I'll be posting the online Wiley work soon, so be looking for that. Do you get an email when I post that? No? Okay. So I'll let you know when I do that. Either today or tomorrow. And you'll have the entire unit, well, the entire chapter to get that done. Because there'll be new Wileys for each of the 3 chapters. Complete sets for the first 2 and then just 1 Wiley for the last chapter. All right, Liz, are you guys close? I didn't mean to startle you there.
Just finishing.
Just finishing, okay. Baron, are you done? One more, okay. All right, we're going to talk about these first 5. Remember, it's the recorder that answers. Baron, what did you write for number 1? What structure does the large rectangle represent? The heart. It does represent the heart. It's a model. Number 2, let me close the door. It's kind of noisy real quick. Jake, or your group, what do the arrows in the model represent?
The flow of blood into and out of the heart.
Say it again.
The flow of blood into and out of the heart.
Yeah, it's the direction of the flow of blood through the vessels. Now, we don't see the vessels, but we see the direction of the flow of blood. Number 3, it'll be Avery or Audrey's group. I have both of you, so I sometimes do that.
We put no.
That is correct. So the question was, does the oxygen stay constant throughout the circulation of the blood? And of course, that answer is no. Both from the diagram, and you also know that the whole point, or one of the points of our circulatory system, is to deliver oxygen to our cells. Number 4, between leaving the right side of the heart and arriving back at the left side of the heart, what has happened to the amount of oxygen in the blood? Right here.
It increased.
It has increased. So is there possibly an organ that you think the blood might have passed through on that side? What would you think it might have been? What? Yeah, the lungs, right? Next group. Between leaving the left side of the heart and arriving back at the right side of the heart, what has happened to the amount of oxygen in the blood?
The body has used up about 45% of the oxygen.
That's right, so it's dropped. Because the body itself, all those somatic cells are hungry for oxygen. All right, so model 2 is about the circulation of the blood. There's just a few questions. You're going to do 6 through 19. And then at that stop sign, you'll pause and we'll go over that together. Turn your cups back to green until you're finished, please.
So what letter on the diagrams of the blood flow to the blood flow to in between leaving the right side and re-entering the left side? Okay. So what structure in the body would this letter represent?
What structure in the body would this letter represent? Did you just say like the lungs?
How does this explain what happened to the amount of oxygen?
Yeah.
As the blood flow passes through the lungs.
I'm not sure, but it makes sense because then leaving the left side.
It'd say like
Or the percentage of the body
the lungs
this
collect
oxygen.
Yeah, supply. That's a good.
Percentage of oxygen, flowing into the heart.
So what letter on the diagram does the blood flow to in between leaving the left side and re-entering the right side? Okay, what structure or structures in the body would this letter represent?
Yeah, but like, that's where the blood's going.
That would decrease the amount? blood that contains I'm not gonna be able to say these. Blood that contains higher levels of oxygen.
Honestly?
Oxygenated blood with lower levels of oxygen.
The whole body.
Deoxygenated blood. The
The whole
circulatory
body.
deoxygenated blood from the right side of the heart brings oxygenated blood back.
Can we
to
put
the
like
side of the
organ
heart called
systems?
That's what you just said, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You just said it. Don't overthink it sometimes, right?
The circuit that carries the oxygenated blood from the left side of the heart, and then it
Your words were
turns
just
deoxygenated blood
So I could just use the whole body?
back to the right side of the heart. It's called the
Because that would incorporate all body work,
System.
right, organs and tissues.
circuit. Alright.
Yeah, the amount of oxygen decreases when your body needs
So
oxygen.
deoxygenated blood. And shade the diagram between the arrows as follows.
This is called TX blood.
I am.
On the front, we could have like
Just the arrows.
This is oxygenated blood, this is deoxygenated blood. The 50% side.
Is it actually working on a color pencil? Every once in a while, it breaks.
Just these two arrows, and then, I'll show you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Wait, I'm really confused.
Okay.
You can't copy this.
The red represents
And then,
oxygen.
oh shit, that one too.
It's deoxygenated blood. So this is deoxygenated. So it reaches the lungs, and then it's oxygenated, so it goes to 95%. This would be red, oxygenated, and then it's deoxygenated, so it transfers.
Wait, this would be deoxygenated too. I'm stupid.
Well,
Yeah, cause it's following the 50% arrow. I'm just,
oh yeah, we skipped this.
Yeah, we skipped those.
Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll come back to.
yeah, I was thinking backwards.
So isn't this one, is this one better than,
You think you should take a stab at the ones that you skipped though? Okay, so
Yeah.
I call, yeah.
because isn't that
I
fun?
mean, you know how it would work, it's like plants to grow and talk about you as they go along.
They're kinda confusing.
Yeah.
And then, this one should be blue.
I startled you. They called the name. And you like jerked up real quick.
Yeah, is this one it for? Cause
I did it this way, but I very well could be wrong.
what would this be for? Would this be red too?
We will talk about it, come up with what you think the solution is, and then we'll go over it as a group.
I just saw 50% and thought that that was cool, but I could be wrong.
You could be right.
But I could be right as well.
So you have this one?
Yeah, that's blue.
Okay. What is the name of the circuit that connects them? Let's see.
You guys have any questions?
So it would be deoxygenated blood.
It's kind of a cold day and run yesterday, wasn't it?
So that would be
Windy, cold.
and that would be colored.
Yeah. And you were in that group, I heard you. I didn't see the quick look, I saw that crew running it, but man, what a miserable day. Actually, it was pretty nice. Well, it's got warm out. It's fun to run into the wind for a long period.
Like,
On the way
down
down.
where we were there was fine, and then we went over to the nickel place, and then on the way back.
How far was your run?
Deoxygenated is just
10?
the lower levels. And oxygenated is the higher levels. The higher percentage.
Jake, what's the farthest you had you run? 13?
17.
Halfway to a marathon.
I feel like
So,
Well,
like,
I mean, you gotta do, if you do
Carbon.
13, you gotta do 13.1.
Right, right.
No, that's
Just
carbon
leave it.
dioxide.
If he made me do 13, I would run the extra.
Carbon and nitrogen, maybe?
wait, what up? Go to the lungs?
What is the name of the circulatory? Is that
where's the other one?
I need a periodic table.
What number are you working on?
Number 15.
What's the name of the
Why do you need a periodic table?
Explain what happened to Vivian.
Because I need to see gases. Can't
But,
remember.
but the periodic table just shows you elements.
Yeah, I need to see the gases.
It's like a thing.
Some of them are found in the gaseous form, right?
Yeah.
Oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, helium. But the thing you're thinking of is not just a single atom. For that question, think about the product of respiration.
Carbon dioxide.
There you go. Is it just an element? No, it's two elements.
Carbon,
Or is
oxygen.
it just that carbon dioxide, one carbon, two oxygen? You looked like you were gonna go for a third. Is it carbon, oxygen? I felt like you wanted to keep going. Yeah. As soon as I said product of respiration, you had it, right?
Yes.
No, there you go.
And that helps you with the next question, does it not?
Yeah.
What happens to
Like
this
an
gas?
assist from Mr. Blevins.
Thank you.
Alley-oop?
This one? What gas?
Oh, so it probably is all the organs except the lungs. Exhale versus
We breathe it out.
What's the name of the circuit that connects to the heart? The heart
Yeah, we
connects to the
exhale
body.
carbon
So 10 is probably all the organs.
Takes deoxygenated.
So we can finally breathe it out.
This was
Exhale.
no, it was like
The right side, the left side.
we split all.
Looking at the arrows on the
I was like,
Blue side, the other side.
it's like a total.
No, that's not real.
Yes.
I don't know. Any description?
Blood on the right side only contains 50% oxygen, but it has 95% total gas.
The heart and out.
The gas, what gas other than oxygen do you think might be dissolved in the blood on the right side of the heart? Yeah? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's too much exposure.
I just through the heart and out to the body.
Produces gas. But just breathing. Breathing? Yeah. I guess so. Breathing. You said probably. I said starting processes. No, it's the building. So it's from Nico's nitrogen. Process it. It just goes through them. What's that? Never seen respiration? No. He's like, nothing's good in this defense.
Yeah, but it
Oh, yeah. Where do you see that, right? Snapchat? 3 years ago. Do you watch like Snapchat Reels? No. He used to. I think he used two of them, and all the comments are like bots. I don't know if people saying so that's anything to do with the video. It takes gas before the blood leaves.
What happens to the gas before the blood?
It gets filtered. What happens to the gas before the blood filters looks out of the heart? It's breathed out. It leaves the body. Leaves the body.
Yeah, you breathe it out in the chest.
You just gotta do that. No way. Yeah.
This is like the worst thing you possibly could have done.
Let's see. You guys think I should? No. Yeah, I do.
Valves, ventricles.
How would you describe the flow pattern of blood inside the circulatory system? How would you describe it? I would say it's circulation. It's, yeah. Boxy. It's 18.
Yeah, it's just kind of like memorizing.
It's cycles. It's a constant cycle. Yeah, cycle, sure. Cycle. Or it has like streams. Yeah. A stream. A stream.
I try to hit 50 miles, my hip just gives out, you can just run 20 miles a day. Deal.
Keep pushing everything off. Like you push this long enough.
It looks like we're getting close. Are you,
These are big shapes.
Dan, are you guys on the last two?
Yeah.
Are you on
Alright, that's
18 or
good.
19? Okay.
Good.
One what?
Good, good. We can just throw us all on the lab coats, we could probably cure cancer. It's 45 minutes. Thank you. Trying to work a little bit. And it was crazy. What? Yeah. We were just sitting there and it was great. Oh, the hurricanes is good. It's like 2 weeks. I don't know about that. Pretty old. She just told me about it. Oh well. She'd be upset if I did. I don't want to hear someone. They're like, oh, no, it's not. No, we'll go keep like a picture and stuff. I don't like pictures actually, bro.
Mr. Blevins, are you filming again?
I am.
No, you can't see us in the video. It's way over.
You got an Amazon package coming.
What's that?
You got an Amazon package coming.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. Did that notification just pop up on my phone?
Yeah.
That would be my wife. She's the guru of ordering stuff on Amazon.
I thought that was you. You're like a secret member or whatever.
But she uses my account to order 95% of the free stuff we get on that program.
And then she makes you write the reviews.
No, if she orders it, she writes the reviews.
Oh, okay.
All right, looking around, looks like everybody's done. Let's go over these together. We're going to start with number 12, and we'll start with Katie, your group. Did you shade in the diagram?
Yes.
All right, let me show you what you should have. And we'll double check and see how the rest of everybody did as well. So, we're going to go from here. Oops, that's not the right color. So we should have this portion. Not being super neat, but you get the idea. And then we should have this portion highlighted. Right, in red. So, how did everybody do there? Good. To Barron's group, to what letter on the diagram did the blood flow to in between, leaving the right side and re-entering the left side? Number 6, I'm sorry, number 6.
Number 6, A.
Letter A, yep. Group in the back, what structure in the lung, or in the body would this letter represent?
The lungs.
It is, it represents the lungs. Number 8, in the corner, how does this explain what happened to the amount of oxygen?
Lungs supply the blood with oxygen.
Yeah, the blood is oxygenated there. Number 9, right here in front of me, to what letter on the diagram did the blood flow to in between leaving the left side and re-entering on the right side?
B.
B. And back to this table, what structure or structures of the body would this letter represent?
The whole body.
Right, all of the body, all of the tissues and organs of the body, exactly. Number 11, how does this explain what happened to the amount of oxygen? That's your group.
The organs use the blood oxygen to function.
They did, right? To carry out, well, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but what process are the cells of the body carrying out that requires that oxygen?
Respiration.
Right, cellular respiration. Now, take a look at read this. It says, blood that contains higher levels of oxygen is called oxygenated blood. Blood with lower levels of oxygen is called deoxygenated blood. The circuit that carries deoxygenated blood from the right side of the heart and brings oxygenated blood back to the left side of the heart is called the pulmonary circuit. The circuit that carries oxygenated blood from the left side of the heart and then returns deoxygenated blood from the body back to the right side of the heart is called the systemic circuit. What we learned from reading that is our circulatory system really has 2 loops. Okay. Number 12 we've already done. Number 13, Allie, your group, what is the name of the circuit that connects the heart and lungs?
The pulmonary
It
circuit.
is the pulmonary circuit. Very good. Number 14, what is the name of the circuit that connects the heart to all parts of the body except the lungs?
The systemic circuit.
It is the systemic circulation or circuit. Which circuit would you guess contains the greater volume of blood? Sam? The systemic circuit, right? If you think about the pulmonary circuit, it's a pretty short circuit, right? Heart, lungs, back, okay? Number 15, the blood on the right side only contains 50% oxygen, but it has 95% total gases. What gas other than oxygen do you think might be dissolved in the blood on the right side of the heart? We'll go over here.
The carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, right? The product of cellular respiration. At least aerobic, right? We also learned in biology class, if we have a deficiency of oxygen, we can burn glucose, right, anaerobically using lactic acid fermentation. And that's what causes your muscles to get sore and stiff and your legs to feel heavy when you're doing like 400 repeats or something like not fun. I saw the cross-country runners here go into a little PTSD. That was one of the hardest workouts for me as a cross-country runner. All right, number 16. What process, did we just do 16? Yeah. Number 16 is cellular respiration. We'll do number 17. What happens to this gas before the blood re-enters the left side of the heart?
You exhale it.
You do. You exhale it. So we think of our mouth as just a place to put food, but it's kind of an exhaust pipe for our body. Number 18. Looking at the arrows on the model, how would you describe the flow pattern of the blood inside the circulatory system? This one's hard to know what they're getting at, but give it a shot.
Through the heart and out, like, to the body.
You said through the heart and to the body, right? So I think what the authors are trying to shine a spotlight on, the authors of the POGIL want you to see that there's one-way flow through 2 different loops. So go ahead and edit your answers or add to your answers. Since so many of you are racing, you probably had various answers. Not that they would have been completely wrong, but I think the author wants you to see that there are 2 distinct loops in the circulatory system.
There's one. Can you repeat the answer?
Right, there is one-way flow through 2 different loops. And then the last question in this section, what features might be entrances and exits to the heart need in order to maintain this flow pattern?
Vessels.
Vessels? Well, definitely vessels maintain the loop. But what would prevent the blood from going backwards? So if you've got blood coming into the ventricle of the heart, for example, or coming into the atria, right? In fact, it first comes into the atria, which means, in Latin, it means waiting room. Some big buildings have large atriums when you come into them, right? So if you have blood returning to the heart, into the atria, and the atria is going to push the blood down into the ventricles, what would keep, when the atria compresses, what would keep the blood from just going backwards in the same blood vessel that brought the blood to the atria? Have you heard of people having trouble with any parts of their heart? I'm thinking of something that begins with a V. Valves, right? It's valves that prevent the backflow of blood. We have valves in our heart. You also have valves in parts of your circulatory system other than your heart, like your veins. How many of you know somebody who has varicose veins? Have you heard of varicose veins before? Right? Tends to be genetic, but sometimes those valves in our veins become a little faulty. They don't work to prevent blood backflowing, and we get blood pooling in our legs, especially if we have jobs where we stand on our feet all day long and we don't move much. It's the lack of movement that's the key there. We'll learn a little later about basically the muscular skeletal pump, that as you move, it actually kind of milks the blood back to the heart. And when I say that, what I'm trying to get you to think about for a minute is blood. One thing about blood pressure that we'll get into when we study vessels is it drops over distance. Have you ever hooked a bunch of garden hoses together and realized the pressure at the end of the garden hose isn't very much? The longer the hose, the less pressure there will be, all right, because of the internal resistance to water flow. Well, the same thing, if you're in your venous section where blood is returning to the heart, it's traveled a long way and the blood pressure drops there, okay? And so we have to, our bodies have evolved ways to help push that blood back up to our heart, and it involves the muscles of our body. When they contract, they kind of squeeze the blood vessels, the veins, and help to, I say, milk it back to the heart. And again, I'll show you some images, and we'll investigate that when we get closer to that topic later. All right, so now we have just 2 extension questions. I would like you to answer those 2 questions. These 2 we will not go over together. I'll collect them and grade them as a way of assessing how much you've learned from the POGIL itself. We can go over them after I collect them, of course.
They're not getting enough oxygen through their blood, and blood that's supposed to be deoxygenated is oxygenated. So it's just like everything is gonna go wrong. Like the circulatory flow is
Yeah, I think
For organ systems to receive oxygen, possibly resolving.
percentages are going to be all messed up. The wrong amount of oxygen goes to that, different places. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe in septum.
And the wrong amount of oxygen would go to different parts of the body.
Just
Let's say unbalanced
Anything else?
oxygen levels.
It's just the one word. What about the one word? We're talking about like the organ system. What about the lungs? How will that be affected with oxygen when it's not supposed to be there?
I'm gonna say for cardiovascular function.
Or would it just cause the same problem?
Okay. Oxygen is carried in the blood by red blood cells at high altitudes. The blood can unless oxygen because of the low pressures. The compensation so your body produces more red blood cells and then you take a little
This one doesn't even have a stop sign on
Oxygen is
it.
carried in the blood by red blood cells. At high
high
altitudes, the body cannot take in as much oxygen because of low pressure. So to compensate, your body produces more red blood cells. Even when you return to low altitudes, these extra red blood cells remain for about 2 weeks. Using this information, why do you think athletes often train at high altitudes before a competition, and how does this help them?
They got more red blood cells. They carry more oxygen.
Yes, increases the red blood cell count, so they can bring fresh more oxygen and therefore perform more efficiently.
You're taking walks. What?
New healthy blood cells causing them
So
to
they
So when they return to competition.
Because you have a low altitude.
So your body can take it.
Yeah. That's
Our seniors, so we graduate before we so that means we get a week and a half to go to altitude training. Someone goes really well.
So then they don't have as much lactic acid.
No, but I actually have Florida as
Their muscles, so their muscles tire less frequently.
Just with an
yeah.
rather than aerobic respiration. So like what?
Like what are they? Like what's the difference? Aerobic respiration. Like when you start a sprint, that's what you use. Anaerobic is when you run out of blood for like 30 seconds. So it produces lactic acid.
Oh wait. And how does this help that?
So this way you can use aerobic respiration for long run, you don't get as much of lactic acid.
Okay. So aerobic respiration for water.
Southern Ohio. You go places that are already here on you find.
Alright, looks like everybody is either done or finishing their last sentence or two. Let's take a look at number 20. A hole in the heart is actually a hole in the wall dividing the left and right sides of the heart. This dividing wall is called the septum. This causes the deoxygenated blood from the right side to mix with the oxygenated blood from the left side. What do you think the effects are for someone with a hole in the heart? We'll start with Allison Withrow, your table for number 20.
Not enough oxygen to organs and tissues, organ damage and brain damage.
So if we have, you're right, we have highly oxygenated blood mixing with blood that's not as oxygenated, the value of that mixed blood is going to have a lower oxygen content. And so we're going to deliver oxygen to the tissues, or blood to tissues with a lower oxygen content than we were supposed to have. It's going to cause the person to feel winded easily, to have low energy, and could cause damage to organs if the oxygen content is too low. My daughter, the combat medic in the Army, Sarah, was born with a hole in her septum between her two atria. When we study the heart, you'll see that the heart goes through a lot of dynamic changes just before birth. And one of the things that happens is this hole that exists naturally in the fetus closes. And with Sarah, the doctor was listening to her heart early on, within the first week of her life. It's actually within the first couple days, and they heard that this hole was there. They're trained to listen to sounds and they know what it means. And she wasn't concerned at all. She said sometimes it just closes up a little bit later. And sure enough, by the next appointment, which is at a week after birth, it had gone away. So she was fine. There's also sorts of really cool changes that the infant heart goes through right around or right before birth, and even sometimes after birth. Number 21, oxygen is carried in the blood by red blood cells. At high altitudes, the body cannot take in as much oxygen because of the low pressures. So to compensate, your body produces more red blood cells. Even when you return to low altitudes, these extra red blood cells remain for about 2 weeks. Using this information, why do you think athletes often train at high altitudes before a competition, and how does this help them? Who did I ask that last question? Was it your guys' or you? So I'll go to this table here.
They have new, healthy red blood cells causing them to perform more aerobic respiration, so their muscles tire less frequently, so there's less lactic acid.
Yeah, so if you heard, she said they have new, healthy red blood cells. Red blood cells live for about 120 days. And there are more present than would normally be there. That's the key part to that. In the early days of athletes trying to figure out ways to cheat, they would do what's called blood doping. They would remove their blood, put it in the refrigerator, their body makes new through erythropoiesis. Then they would infuse their own blood back into themselves and have extra blood cells. But the risk there was that they also have extra volume, and what does that do to your blood pressure? Makes it go up. All these young athletes in the prime of their life were having heart attacks, and they shouldn't have been. So they were, risking their health to get a benefit, a performance benefit. And then we had Lance Armstrong, who perfected the whole thing, cheating, by actually using the hormone EPO to coerce his body to make more red blood cells so that he could win the Tour de France over and over and over and over, like 8 times in a row. Well, nobody wins the Tour de France 8 times in a row, or maybe it was 9, I don't know, but he won way more than a person should be able to win that race. And he learned from his fight with cancer about EPO and what it does, because he actually received EPO to help him bounce back from the cancer treatments. And then later on, as a healthy athlete, I think he started thinking, I could use this for winning fame and fortune as well. All right, that's it for the day. We'll jump into the details tomorrow. Start learning about the nuts and bolts of the cardiovascular system.
Wait, so